Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Can you bring some water? Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vansha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gaura Trishe Namaha. Nityananda Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalau Kalmashanashaya Janava Pataye Namaha. Anarpita Charim Chirat Karunayavatirna Kalo Samarpaitum Unatoj Valarasam Svabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Dyuti Kadamba Sandipita Sada Hridaya Kandare Spuratuva Sachinandanaha. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Brindai Tulsi Debai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satya Bachai Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Shri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. And then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Ashto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. And Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Ashto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Shri Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga. And my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. So yesterday we read the introductory portions of this book, The Secret Truths of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Secret Truths of the Bhagavatam. Sri Bhagavat Rahasya. So, now there's 7 lectures we're going to read in these next 7 days. I don't know. Let me see the page numbers just to give an idea if we can make this happen or not. Come on, where is it? Oh, okay. So there are 134 pages. So 134 divided by 7.
Is that 19?
Huh?
19 maybe?
134 divided by 7.
99.
Say if it was 140 divided by 7 would be 20 pages, right? Right?
Right.
So maybe 15, 18 pages each day. We'll see. But we have a few more days than 7. Except, unfortunately, we'll not have the association of our dear Rishabji for one.
Ears.
Huh?
I want to have my ears and hopefully heart here. Hopefully we can tune in, but
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
noisy.
Where you are, it's noisy.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
Because there's so much.
I understand. Okay. So, the first chapter is titled, I Meditate on the Absolute Truth. All glories to Srila Gurudev. These were in 1999, his lectures, his 7 evening lectures in 1999 made into this book. So the first section of this chapter is titled Inquiry by the Sages. Now, I want to begin my classes. I will start by explaining the first slok of Srimad Bhagavatam, and gradually I will come to the sweet pastimes of Krishna. So we can meditate that we are sitting there in front of Srila Gurudev. And the whole pavilion is decorated and nicely set up. And Gurudev's beautiful lotus face is beaming across in all directions to everyone. So he's saying that he will start by explaining the first slok of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then gradually I will come to the sweet pastimes of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam states that once at the very beginning of Kali Yuga, many hundreds of thousands of Maharshis and devotees assembled at a very pious place called Naimisharanya. They were thinking how to save the world from the effects of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is such an era that people quarrel among themselves for absolutely no reason. Husband and wife, father and son, mother and daughter, brother and sister, and neighbors. Although there is no cause, still everyone quarrels. Kali Yuga creates such misunderstanding that quarrel is bound to happen, even with our own mind and soul. Therefore, these Maharshis and devotees were thinking about what to do. So, that's interesting. Sometimes Kali Yuga is known as the Iron Age, right? Like Satya Yuga is gold and then silver, like that. Kali Yuga is known as the Iron Age. But this is the first adjective attached to the word Kali Yuga that I remember hearing. Age of quarrel. Age of quarrel. So, and certainly we can see that going on a mass scale, right? All disagreement, quarrel. So, and Kali Yuga creates such misunderstanding that the quarrel is bound to happen even with our own mind and our own Atma, our own soul. So therefore, these Maharshis and these devotees were thinking about what to do. Sounds like there's a little echo? No. Or is that the speaker in the kitchen?
It might be the speaker in the kitchen.
Oh, okay. Hari. Yeah, okay. So at that time, when all these sages were gathered there, then Ugrashrava Sutta, the son of Romaharshan and a direct disciple of Srila Shukadev Goswami, he was inspired by Baladev Prabhu himself to come to Naimisharanya. All the realized devotees present, like Shaunaka and others, showed him respect and inquired from him as follows. Here's the direct quote, verses 6 through 11, chapter 1. Respected Sutta Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. You are well versed in all the scriptures famous for religious life, and in the Puranas and the histories as well, for you have gone through them under proper guidance, and you have also explained them. O Sutta Goswami, being the eldest learned Vedantist, you are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of Godhead. And you also know other sages who are fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge. And because you are submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore, you can tell us all that you have what you have scientifically learned from them. Please, therefore, being blessed with many years, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and the ultimate good for the people in general. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. There are many varieties of scriptures, and in all of them there are many prescribed duties, which can be learned only after many years of study in their various divisions. Therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all these scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, that by such instruction their heart may be fully satisfied. So, Gurudev is telling that the sages told Sri Sutta Goswami, you are so learned, and you are a disciple of Srila Shukadev Goswami himself. You know the essence of all Shastra, and you are perfect. We therefore have some questions for you. Now that Kali is coming, what should we do? Here's the first question. Now that Kali is coming, what should we do? Yenatma suprasidati. How can our souls be happy? Atma suprasidati. And by what process can less intelligent persons with little time, a short duration of life, and so many problems, so many difficulties and sorrows, how can those less intelligent persons make their souls pleased? This is a very important point. Atma samprasidati. Atma suprasidati. This is the main question being put forward. How can all the jivas in this Kali Yuga experience full satisfaction of the soul? It's not telling of the body. Not telling of the body. It's telling Atma suprasidati. Full satisfaction of the soul. So, this first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, the title that Prabhupada gave it in his translation is Questions by the Sages. So Gurudev would always begin his Srimad Bhagavatam festivals by setting the scene as the first chapter of Bhagavatam does, and giving this introduction to all the listeners that they can now understand what are the time, place, and circumstances when this great literature was spoken. So, they go on. You are very learned and you are very qualified. We believe in you. And we believe that by reciting the pastimes of Krishna, you will certainly save us from the effects of Kali Yuga. So the sages are putting forth their great respect and honor and confirming that we have faith in you. And we know that you will certainly save us from the effects of Kali Yuga. We know that nothing else but the very sweet and powerful pastimes of Krishna can save all people from Kali Yuga. So Sutta Goswami, he became happy with the questions of the sages. He thanked them for their words. And then he began to answer them by speaking Srimad Bhagavatam. So now this next section is titled Invocation Shloka. You know this invocation shloka? The first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam? Yes, can you say it? Charteshu Abhigya Swarat. Tene Brahmahrida Ya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti.
I need to review it.
Okay. Any? Yes. It's right at your feet. Yeah, good. Say the first line again. Then, Tene.
Tejo Varinidam, Yatavinimayo, Yatra, Kristago Nisha, Dana Srina Sudana Rastakokam, Satyam Puram Dhimari.
You know what vision comes in my mind? You're not going to believe this. I'm in the laundromat near to our Halstead Street storefront temple coming into the winter, and it was my duty that day to walk a couple of blocks to the laundromat. Chicago. I was sent from Detroit to Chicago after 2 months of being a devotee, and I was sent there. And I brought along Srila Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam, right, first volume, the exact one that was printed in India, the whole thing. And I began to study that shloka. And I began to recite it, but to look at the synonyms. And it's such a long shloka, you know, for a newcomer. So long and so deep. And then I began trying to delve into it, trying to understand, you know. Janmadyasya yaton vayadi taratas chartesho vigyasvarat. So, I remember that. And, of course, with Srila Gurudev, he really polished us up with our understanding. So, Sutta Goswami, he had heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Srila Sukadev Goswami, who had heard it from Sri Vyasadeva. Then Vyasadeva began this literature with this following shloka. So, the translation is, O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations. And he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and the demigods are placed into illusion as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth.
Why is it indirectly conscious of all manifestations?
Yes, anvayad itaratascha. Because, like you can say, that one personality, Krishna, Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva, that personality, he is the one supreme being from whom everything comes, everything emanates. So we know by the philosophy of Achintya Bhed Abhed Tattva, simultaneously oneness and difference. So, simultaneously Krishna is everywhere, like Srila Sridhar Maharaj says in his book, Shri Guru in His Grace, Search for Shri Krishna. That he's quoting the verse from the 10th chapter, where Krishna is telling Arjuna, behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the Lord of all living beings, and although I am everywhere, still I am separate. So, so the the position of Krishna in relation to the material creation, like Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, I am everywhere and I am nowhere. Simultaneous. I know everything and also I don't know all. Just like, for example, in our beautiful songbook of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Sharanagati, and the first song in that book, the invocation song we have. And there, what is being told are the 6 limbs of Sharanagati, right? You know, Dainya Atma Nivedana Gotritre Varana, Avashyara Kibe Krishna Vishvasa Palana. So then Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing that anyone who performs these 6 limbs of Sharanagati, then the son of Maharaj Nanda, he will hear your prayers. So that means what? That means for someone who's not doing Sharanagati, he is not directly hearing. Correct?
Makes sense.
But who's hearing? Is someone hearing or no one?
Guru, Paramatma.
Paramatma is there. Demigods are also there. But to gain access to Krishna's original personal form, as the son of Maharaj Nanda, and have him directly hear, he's very, very engaged in his Vrindavan Leela. But for his unalloyed pure devotee, then he hears. So like this, directly and indirectly. Of course, it's explained much more in Prabhupada's purport and also Gurudev. We'll see what Gurudev has to say here. So now, after reciting this shloka, now what they've done is they've included Srila Gurudev's his Mangala Charana that he personally would always say. We can say it together. He says, then Gurudev says, first of all, I should pray to my spiritual master, and then I will begin to explain the Bhagavatam. We can say together. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pridayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gaura Tishe Namah Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Itadalai Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravrajantram Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakatara Ajuhava Putreti tanmayataya taravo vinedus tam sarva bhuta hridayam munimanatosmi tavaivasmi na jivami tvaya vina iti vigyaya radhikvam nayamam charanantikam bhaktya vihina aparadha lakshay kshiptascha kamadi tarangamadye Kripamai tvam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charanarvindam. So then Gurudev says, try to hear very patiently, with deep honor, and try to understand. Do not do any work during this class. Allow your mind to be controlled by my words. Give up all other activities like sleeping or anything else, and give me your ears, your hands, and all your senses only for a couple of minutes. Afterwards, you are free to do as you like. Do not sleep and do not yawn. Sleepiness may come, but try to control it. Sit straight so that sleep will not come. You should hear very patiently and with all your energy. Janmadyasya yataha. Meaning of this is the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. Janmadyasya yataha. Sri Vyasadeva, he is offering pranam, obeisances. To whom? He does not actually say the name of Sri Krishna, but all the symptoms of the worshipable object of his pranam apply only to Krishna. To which Krishna? Not to the Krishna of Mathura or Dwarka, but to that Krishna who is the source of all others. Nanda Nandan Krishna, Yashoda Nandan Krishna, Brajendra Nanda, Shyama Sundar. All others, manifestations of Krishna, they are included within him. So why Krishna descends? Why did Krishna descend to this world? The first reason is that Prithvi Devi, Mother Earth, in the form of a cow, along with the demigods, went to Brahma the creator. Actually, Brahma is only the external creator of this world. He is like a manager. And Prithvi told him, recently my 4 legs were broken and I cannot walk. My husband, Dharma, who is religion personified, who has taken the shape of a bull, he also cannot walk. Nowadays, there is so much sin in this world. Both men and women, they are like animals. So-called saintly persons and sannyasis, they do not observe the rules of saintly life, and they are therefore more wretched than animals. They make an artificial show of saintliness with big neck beads, 5-kilo japamala, and very big tilak. At the same time, they are always duplicitous, absorbed in making money and full of lust. Because of this, we have so many problems. So Prithvi said to Brahma, please save me and my husband Dharma. Now Brahma became very worried, and he went with Prithvi and the demigods to Kshir Samudra, the ocean of milk. There he began to do aradhana, prayerful worship of Garbho Dakashai Vishnu. In his trance, he heard the reply to his prayers. Quote, I already know of this situation. My Prabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, is also aware, and he will quickly descend. All the demigoddesses in the form of earthly ladies should descend to earth, to Gokul, to Vrindavan and Mathura. All you demigods should descend in the form of Gopas and Yadus. Krishna will appear very soon. So Gurudev is saying, this is one reason for Krishna's descent. But it's not the only reason. There are many reasons why Krishna came, and that's what's intriguing about this chapter. How Gurudev is pointing out each and every reason. Now the second reason. The time had come to establish the Yuga Dharma. What was the Yuga Dharma at that time? Deity worship. Yavanas and others, they were destroying temples, and people had no faith in the deities. And the standard of worship was the worst it had ever been. In order to save the situation, Krishna appeared in this world, bringing within him the Yuga Avatar, the Manvantar, and all other incarnations like Narayan, Rama, Krishna, Shringa, Kalki, and Vamana. There were also other reasons for Krishna's descent. Jai and Vijay had been cursed to come to this world for 3 births as demons. And now in their 3rd birth, they would become Shishupal and Dantavakra. So Krishna had to come to liberate them. So, what's the second reason why Krishna descended?
Deities were not being properly worshipped in the temple.
To establish
Yuga Dharma, and also to manifest the Yuga avatars. And then what's the third reason he's mentioning here?
to liberate Shishupal and
Who are Jai and Vijay. Moreover, Krishna came to fulfill the promises he had made in his form of Ramchandra. Rama, he went to Dandakaranya forest with Sita and Lakshmana to carry out the orders of his father. There he dressed as a sadhu, and although his hair was jata, that means matted hair, jata, he was so beautiful, a teenager of about 16 years. And at that time, 60,000 sages were performing aradhana, service in meditation to Radha Krishna conjugal, to Ram and to others by mantra. They had been chanting Gopal mantra. That is Gopijana Balabhaya Svaha. For thousands of years they had been chanting this Gopal mantra. During that long period of time, although the practices of these sages were somewhat weak, they did not become like fish, which die as soon as they are taken out of water. Their practices were much superior to yours, but still, in comparison to the highest level, they were somewhat weak. Can you bring the lamp? It's in my room. It's that one. It also has the extension cord attached to it. It's on the, I think it's on the bottom shelf next to my bed. So, so many sages. How many?
60,000?
Yeah, it says. Yeah, 60,000 sages. That's a lot of sages. 60,000 sages. They were in the forest there. So, but Gurudev is saying that their chanting of the mantra, it was somewhat weak. Okay, thank you. I'm going to point it so that it's not pointing at anyone's eyes. Is this comfortable for your eyes? Yes, so their practices were much superior to yours, but still, in comparison to the highest level, they were somewhat weak. Your practices are very weak. Sometimes you chant your Gayatri mantra, and sometimes you do not. Sometimes you sit awake to chant, and sometimes you fall asleep. If you think about all your problems instead of concentrating on the mantras, your chanting of mantras will be like zero, and you will fall asleep. At that time, big problems will come quickly. So, these sages were performing their somewhat weak practices, but when they saw Ram and he glanced upon them, they became inspired. And they began to pray to him, please fulfill our desires. Ram knew that they wanted to serve Radha Krishna conjugal. He knew that. And he knew that they wanted to participate in the Ras and other Leelas. He therefore kindly and mercifully he told to them, in my next birth I will be Krishna. And there, in Braja, by the help of Yogamaya, you will take birth from the womb of a gopi. At that time, you can meet me, and I will fulfill your desires. That's another reason why Krishna had to descend. Yes. So, first one is because of Prithvi Devi taking the form of a cow. Second one, to establish the Yuga Dharma, which is deity worship, and to also manifest the Yuga avatars, Manvantar, and all other incarnations. Third reason is Jai Vijay, to kill Shishupal and Dantavakra. Then the fourth reason is this one, that Lord Ram gave this promise to the sages in the forest of Naimisharanya. 60,000 sages. That means at least 60,000 gopis took birth in Braj. Right? Braj is a very big place. It can accommodate any number. It can expand, it can contract, it can do anything. Yes, and those young little gopi girls during the Katyayani Vrat that they performed, they were all bathing in the Yamuna every day, very cold. They were all chanting these mantras to Yogamaya Devi, who they were calling her, what? Yeah, Katyayani Devi, but actually she's Yogamaya. So, the sages continued with their practices for a very long time, from the appearance of Ram to the appearance of Krishna. Hundreds of thousands of yugas. That's how long. Do not think that in a moment you can get pure bhakti as easily as you can get laddus and rasgullas. O Guru Maharaj, you gave me the mantras, but still I have not realized that I am in Goloka Vrindavan. I want to be in Vrindavan now. So, Gurudev is mimicking a neophyte devotee who thinks that it's so easy and quick, cheap. Valmiki Rishi, he took initiation from Narada, engaged in very severe austerities for, again, 60,000 years. And then he became self-realized. But you do not want to follow all these things, like chanting your mantras. Srila Swami Maharaj gave some of you initiation into the Gayatri Mantra. For 1 day, 2 days, 1 month, or for some years you practiced. But after that you became weak. Especially after his departure, you left your chanting. You have no faith in these mantras. You will have to practice them. It may be that it will take 2, 3, 4, 5, or so many births. But our good fortune is that in this Kali Yuga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to sprinkle his mercy. We can therefore chant with some hope that very soon we can become realized souls. So do not worry. Go on practicing like the Dandakaranya rishis. Now, when Krishna descended, these rishis took birth from the womb of the gopis, and they also became gopis. And later, they worshipped the demigoddess Katyayani for a long time in order to get Krishna as their husband. Krishna then came, and their desires were fulfilled. It was for this reason also that he descended. So this is the 5th reason for the sages in the forest of Naimishranya. Actually, it's continuing the same. So, it was for this reason also that he descended. So in the same way, this process will bear fruit for you. But you must do one-pointed Krishna bhajan, engaging in all the practices of bhakti. There is yet another reason for Krishna's descent. When Ram went to Janakpuri, the Rajkumaris, the princesses, became charmed to see him. And when they saw that Sita was married to him, then they developed a very strong desire. Oh, if Ram would also marry us, it would be so good. We want Ram to become our husband. We will not marry anyone else. And with this determination, they never married. Who were they? The Rajkumaris, princesses. Ram, he was pleased, and he told them, you will take birth in Dwapara Yuga from the womb of a gopi. And many years later, Ramachandra ordered Sita to leave his palace. And she left and lived alone in Valmiki's ashram, where she gave birth to Ram's twin sons. Ram stayed in his palace, and Sita stayed in the forest. And for certain reasons, the king had left his queen, but Ram never left his dear Sita. King has left his queen, but Ram never left Sita. Although, there's a little footnote here. Ram, in his capacity as a king, he left his queen, but really, Ram never actually left Sita. Although he remained in his palace, he always remembered her. His days passed with great difficulty. Ram felt so much separation that sometimes he would speak with his guru and his priest, Vashishta. And once Ram requested Vashishta, I want to perform a fire sacrifice, an Ashvamedha Yagya, or any other Yagya, so please allow me to do this. Then Vashishta replied, because you have left your wife, you cannot perform any type of sacrifice. You should bring her back and sit beside her. Only then can you do it. That cannot be, Ram told him. Please make another arrangement so that I can perform the sacrifice. So then Vashishta said to Ram, your father married 360 wives, so you can also marry again. I think that there are many beautiful ladies in the world who would want to marry you. They would readily marry you. No, said Ram, I cannot marry anyone else. Well, then you cannot perform the sacrifice. Then Ram insisted, please, somehow, arrange it. Vashishta then said, you can make a golden statue of Sita. And with that Sita, you can sit and perform the sacrifice. Now, each following year, Ram had one murti of Sita made. These deities were installed by mantra, by both Vashishta and Ram himself. By their invocation, these deities actually became alive. And in Ram's last days, just before his pastimes in this world came to a close, and he was about to go to a Prakat Ayodhya, his spiritual abode, all those deity forms of Sita came, and they told him, we want to go with you and be with you forever. Ram replied, in this incarnation, I can only accept one Sita. Only one Sita will remain with me. You are now so many. You should go to Vrindavan and take birth from the wombs of gopis. There I will manage everything and I'll fulfill all your desires. So Krishna also came for that reason. Now, another cause of Krishna's coming was Suparnaka. Who's that?
Sister of God.
Right. So, Suparnaka was another cause of Krishna's coming. She was the sister of Ravana. And she wanted to marry Ram. And because Ram is like a desire tree, he had to fulfill her desire. He did so by directly associating with her in her next birth, in her form as Kubja. And by mystic power, Suparnaka was able to assume many beautiful forms and could allure many men. And Ram considered, because I have accepted her in this life, no one else may marry her. So he therefore ordered Lakshman to cut off her nose. And then in her next life, she became Kubja, and 8 parts of her body were bent. Therefore in that life also, no one married her. Her face was very beautiful, but her entire body was crooked and bent, like a hunchback. But when Krishna touched her, she became very straight. And at that time, her wishes were fulfilled. So for this reason also, Krishna descended. This is very fascinating. I'm really enjoying reading this lecture of Gurudev's. Now, Narada Muni was another cause of Krishna's descent. Once during Narada's travels, he saw the two sons of Kuvera, Nalakuver and Manigriva, playing with many heavenly Apsara girls. They were as naked as trees and stones, drinking wine and completely without shame. Upon seeing Narad coming along the path, the girls became ashamed. They folded their hands, they covered themselves with garments, and they prayed to Narada from afar. The two men, on the other hand, they completely mad and intoxicated on wine, they began abusing both the girls and Narad. They called out, "Why has this old man come here and disturbed everything?" So being very merciful, Narada thought, "They are the sons of my friend Kuvera." Narada was on his way to meet Kuvera, but when he saw Kuvera's sons so degraded, he thought, "I should punish them." And he therefore cursed them. "You should become trees. You are behaving like trees, and so you should become trees." And as soon as they understood, "Oh, we are going to be trees," then they fell flat at Narada's lotus feet. "What I have foretold, it will certainly come true," Narada said. He told them. "But you will become trees in Gokul, where Krishna will take birth and perform so many sweet pastimes. He will touch you and you will be liberated. Not only that, but you will also attain bhakti, and you will become Krishna's transcendental associates forever." So, Krishna also descended to fulfill Narada's foretelling. Krishna also came to perform Raslila. The personified Upanishad mantras, they had been performing austerities and chanting the Gopal mantra and the Kam Gayatri mantra. We heard this morning about that, right? Gopanandini was talking about the personified Upanishads, right? Yeah. So, these personified Upanishad mantras had been performing austerities and chanting the Gopal mantra and Kam Gayatri mantra. And in order to become gopis, they were doing this, They were doing, in order to become gopis, chanting Gopal mantra and Kam Gayatri mantra. Now, by their chanting, they became gopis in their next birth. They became known as Upanishad Chari Gopis, and Krishna accepted them as his beloveds. There are two types of devotees who, by chanting mantras and performing austerities, were accepted by Krishna. They are called Yotiki and Ayotiki. You know the meaning?
One was in groups, and the others were one or two.
Yes. So those who are in groups and those who are not. And by this history we see that these mantras are very high class and powerful. Never neglect them. So once, Krishna and Arjuna were out traveling. So Krishna said, "Oh, Arjuna, I am so thirsty. Bring water from somewhere." Then While looking for water, Arjuna saw some birds going toward the Yamuna. And upon reaching the Yamuna, he saw that she was flowing very sweetly and her water was very pure and clear. He also saw an old lady with white hair who was in trance. He circumambulated the lady and he offered pranam to her. After some time, she returned to external consciousness, and then Arjuna asked her, "Mother, who are you? And why are you meditating in this place? No one is here. What are you doing here on the bank of the Yamuna?" Then the lady replied respectfully, "I have been doing aradhana, worship, here for hundreds and thousands of years. I want to be a gopi in Vrindavan and serve Radha and Krishna conjugal. Narada kindly gave me Gopal mantra and Kam Gayatri, so I have been worshipping here with these mantras." Arjuna returned to Krishna and told him what had happened. Then Krishna went to the elderly lady